Welcome to the Forgotten Files, where we delve into the shadows of history to uncover the chilling stories of real-life monsters and their unspeakable deeds. Tonight, we're not just exploring a case. We're stepping into a narrative that has been lost to time, a story so disturbing it was nearly erased. This is the tale of a predator who walked among us, cloaked in normalcy, their monstrous nature hidden behind a mask of everyday life. Our journey begins in a seemingly peaceful town, one that prided itself on community and safety. But beneath this idyllic surface, a darkness was taking root, a darkness that would soon shatter the lives of everyone it touched. The late 1970s were a time of change, but in the quiet suburbs of any town, life moved at a slower pace. Neighbors knew each other, kids played in the streets until dusk, and doors were often left unlocked. It was in this trusting environment that our subject, let's call him the Watcher, began his reign of terror. He wasn't a phantom in the night, he was a familiar face. A quiet man, always polite, someone you'd nod to at the grocery store without a second thought. He blended in perfectly, which was his most terrifying weapon. He worked a mundane job, had a predictable routine, and offered no outward signs of the depravity that festered within. This anonymity allowed him to observe, to plan, and to choose his victims with chilling precision. He wasn't an impulsive killer, he was a meticulous hunter, and the entire town was his hunting ground. His first known act wasn't brutal crime but a subtle, unnerving intrusion. It started with whispers, items moving in homes, the feeling of being watched. People dismissed it as their imagination, a drafty window, a trick of the light, but it was him. He was testing the waters, enjoying the quiet fear he was creating, a prelude to the horror that was to come. The first victim was a young woman named Sarah. She was vibrant, full of life, and loved by her community. One evening, she simply vanished. There were no signs of a struggle, no witnesses, nothing. It was as if she had been plucked from existence. The town was shaken, but the police had few leads. They treated it as a missing person case, hoping she had simply run away. But those who knew Sarah knew that wasn't possible. A week later, another young woman disappeared under similarly baffling circumstances. Panic began to set in. The illusion of safety was crumbling. The police were overwhelmed, grappling with a type of crime their small town had never experienced. The Watcher, meanwhile, reveled in the chaos he had created. He was a ghost, leaving behind no physical evidence. His methods were clean, precise, and terrifyingly effective. He exploited the community's trust, using their open doors and friendly nature against them. He would watch families for weeks, learning their schedules, their habits, their vulnerabilities. He knew when they were alone, when they were most exposed. His reign was a psychological one as much as it was physical. The fear was palpable. Parents stopped letting their children play outside. Locks were installed on every door. The once friendly town became a place of suspicion and anxiety. The Watcher had not only taken lives, he had stolen the town's innocence. The investigation was a frustrating maze of dead ends. Without forensic evidence, detectives had to rely on traditional police work, which proved ineffective against an enemy who left no trail. They interviewed hundreds of people, chased down dozens of false leads, but the Watcher remained a ghost. He was always one step ahead, seemingly aware of their every move. Some investigators even began to suspect he was one of them, a chilling thought that created rifts within the department. The pressure mounted from the public and the media, who dubbed the unseen perpetrator the shadow of any town. The case files grew thicker, filled with reports of strange sightings, unnerving phone calls with only silence on the other end, and feelings of being stalked, but none of it led to a tangible suspect. The Watcher, meanwhile, continued his silent hunt. His pattern was unpredictable. He would strike, then go dormant for months, lulling the town into a false sense of security before shattering it once more. He didn't seem to have a specific type. His victims varied in age and appearance. The only common thread was their vulnerability and the terrifyingly clean nature of their disappearances. It was this randomness that made him so frightening. No one felt safe. The monster could be anyone, and the next victim could be anywhere. This period of inactivity was a form of torture in itself, a constant, looming threat that hung over the community like a storm cloud that refused to break. The breakthrough, when it finally came, wasn't from a brilliant piece of detective work or a forensic discovery. It came from a simple mistake, a moment of overconfidence from the monster himself. After years of operating in the shadows, the Watcher decided to communicate. A letter arrived at the local newspaper, written in a disjointed, taunting scrawl. It claimed responsibility for the disappearances and mocked the police for their incompetence. It was filled with details only the killer could know, confirming its authenticity. While the letter was designed to instill more fear, it contained his first error. A faint, almost invisible watermark on the paper. It was a custom letterhead from a small, local printing company that had gone out of business years ago. Investigators painstakingly tracked down the company's old records, a dusty ledger stored in a damp basement. And there, they found it, a single order for that specific paper, placed years before the first disappearance. The customer's name was on the order. It was a name everyone knew. A quiet, unassuming man who lived on the edge of town, the man we've called the Watcher. The man who had been hiding in plain sight all along. When police arrived at his home, they found a house that was disturbingly normal on the outside, but inside, it was a museum of horror. He had kept trophies from each of his victims: a piece of jewelry, a lock of hair, a photograph. These were his files, his personal collection of the lives he had destroyed. The evidence was overwhelming. During his interrogation, he was calm, detached, and chillingly articulate. He confessed to everything, not with remorse, but with a sense of pride. He described his methods, his motivations, and his enjoyment of the fear he had caused. He saw himself not as a monster, but as a superior being, an artist of terror. He explained how he had studied police procedures, how he had used his knowledge of the town to his advantage, and how he had savored every moment of his silent reign. The town was horrified. The man they had known, or thought they had known, was a predator of the worst kind. The revelation brought a sense of closure, but it also left a permanent scar. The trust that had once defined their community was gone, replaced by a lingering sense of caution and a painful awareness of the darkness that can hide behind the most ordinary of faces. The trial was a media sensation, but for the residents of any town, it was a painful ordeal. The full extent of the Watcher's cruelty was laid bare in the courtroom. He was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars, ensuring he would never harm anyone again. The story, however, didn't end there. In the years that followed, the town struggled to heal. The name Anytown became synonymous with the case, a label they fought hard to shed. The houses where the victims had lived became somber landmarks. The community eventually rebuilt, but they never forgot. They learned a harsh lesson about the nature of evil and the fragility of peace. The case of the Watcher became a cautionary tale, a forgotten file in the annals of crime that we've reopened tonight. It reminds us that monsters aren't just characters in stories. They can be our neighbors, our colleagues, the people we pass on the street every day. It's a sobering thought, and a powerful reminder to always be aware of our surroundings, to trust our instincts, and to never take our safety for granted. The files of these forgotten cases hold more than just stories of darkness. They hold lessons that are crucial for us to remember, to ensure that such histories are never repeated. The story of the Watcher is a chilling chapter in the vast book of true crime, but it's just one of many forgotten files. Countless other cases have faded from public memory, their stories and their victims lost to time. These are the narratives we are committed to uncovering, not for sensationalism, but for remembrance and understanding. By examining these dark chapters of our past, we can learn more about the complexities of human nature and the societal factors that can allow such darkness to flourish. Each case is a puzzle, and by piecing them together, we gain a clearer picture of the threats that exist and how we can better protect ourselves and our communities. It is our responsibility to keep these stories alive, to honor the victims by ensuring their experiences are not forgotten. The world can be a dangerous place, and sometimes the greatest defense we have is knowledge. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the shadows. We hope that by shedding light on these forgotten files, we can all become a little more vigilant, a little more aware, and a little safer. If you found this exploration into the forgotten corners of true crime compelling, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel, The Forgotten Files. We have many more stories to unearth, many more chilling truths to reveal. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next investigation. And if you know of a forgotten case that you think needs to be brought into the light, please let us know in the comments below. Your engagement helps us continue our work and ensures that these important stories are told. Remember, looking into the darkness is not about dwelling on fear. It's about learning from it. Thanks for watching, and stay safe.